All right, PBS Fun and Credits can go, buddy. Now it's time we dive on in from above the stage to underground 2 times before we head on over to the playroom. Because the next 2 shows I'm doing are Fraggle Rock, in this case, the Fraggle Rock series, and the Muppet Baby series. To put it simple and short, I'm going to be doing 3 shows at one time because Fraggle Rock had 2 TV series of itself. Those, of course, being the live action series and the animated series, in this case, the animated series, followed by Muppet Babies, which was the animated show to begin with, but based on a scene from Muppets Take Manhattan. As for the broadcast years, Fraggle Rock lasted for 4 years between 1983 and 1987. As the animated series lasted for only 1 year around the same time that Fraggle Rock was in its final broadcast year. As for Muppet Babies, that show lasted for 8 seasons from 1984 to 1991. So I want to make sure I get that out of the ballpark. So I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark 3 times. So let's kick it off. First up, the opening / closing funding credits for the first season of Fraggle Rock in 1983. Funding for Fraggle Rock is made possible in part by a grant from your friends at the Kellogg Cereal Company, where we show families and friends that reading, imagination, and sharing can help families have great days with endless possibilities. Additional funding for the series is also provided in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by this and other public television stations. Now that we got through 83, next up on our list, 1984. Funding for Fraggle Rock is made possible in part by a grant from your friends at the Kellogg Cereal Company, where we show people and families that reading and imagination can take kids to unbelievable places that every destination makes possible. Additional funding is also provided in part by a grant from your friends from the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, where we show everybody that stuffed animals have lots of love and lots of hugs and cuddles for your kids to enjoy. We also show people that sharing means taking turns and listening to others. And that's why we're a proud supporter of Fraggle Rock on public television. And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and this and other public television stations. Now that we got through 84, next up on our list, 1985. Funding for Fraggle Rock is made possible by a grant from your friends at the Kellogg Cereal Company, where we show people and kids alike that reading, sharing, and imagination can make every day full of endless possibilities. Additional funding was also provided in part by a grant from your friends at the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, where we show kids that stuffed animals have lots of hugs and cuddles for them to enjoy. We also show them that they also include lots of love and imagination for everybody to share. And that's why we're a proud supporter of Fraggle Rock. And by this and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Now that we wrapped up 85, next up on our agenda, 1986. Funding for Fraggle Rock is made possible in part by a generous grant from your friends at the Kellogg Cereal Company, where we show kids that reading and imagination and lots of sharing makes endless possibilities true destinies for years to come. Additional funding was also provided in part by a generous grant from the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, where we show kids that stuffed animals have lots of hugs, cuddles, and imaginations for everybody, which makes every day an awesome day in Fraggle Rock. And by this and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Now that we wrapped up 86, next up on our agenda, both this and, of course, the animated series broadcasting same year, 1987. So I'm basically going to go and shout out both this and the animated series at the same time, since they basically both came out in the same broadcast year. So I want to make that absolutely happen. I want to make it absolutely happen for you. So with that said, let's finish off Fraggle Rock before I hand it over to the next series. So with that said, let's dive on into this. Major funding for Fraggle Rock is made possible in part by a generous grant from your friends at the Kellogg Cereal Company, where we show people and families alike that every day is an awesome day when reading and imagination takes your family and friends to far-off places that you never thought possible. Additional funding was also provided in part by a generous grant from the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, where we show kids that every day is a happy day when you give them snuggles, love, and lots of imagination with your favorite furry friends. And that's why we're a proud supporter of Fraggle Rock. Funding also was provided by this station and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.